And have us go live. Hi everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. Just duos this week again. I'm gonna try to get us back to like 3 or 4 people next week. If Lightning has been unable to join for the past few weeks, if he can't, maybe he can join, but maybe I'll find someone else to also add in or something.
This is the second day this week I can actually speak, so I'm excited.
Wow, advantage. Yeah. So we have some topics. I threw them up into chat. Interesting ones. Lightning's dad, I think he meant to be said dead, but he's in Twitch chat if you are joining us live, but that is definitely not incorrect. Oh no, he's dad, I guess. I don't know.
Sure. Understandable. Have a nice day.
Yeah, let's just throw a couple of links here into chat to start out with our first topic, because why don't we just start with our first topic? Why the hell not?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
MtG D&D Set, the Adventures in Forgotten Realms. They have a flump card.
They do, and because I didn't have my glasses on, I thought this gargoyle was a squirrel.
It kind of looks like a squirrel. I can understand that.
Do a flump. It's a 0/4 creature.
Yeah. Whenever flump is dealt damage, you and target opponent each draw a card. It's a thing that exists. Oh god. I mean,
still disappointed in Spider Queen over here.
Yeah, the Spider
Queen. It's such a disappointing card.
And people were questioning why the one halfling who hangs out with Driss is a Planeswalker card.
What the
Eliwick Tumblestrum.
That's weird.
Yes.
Why? Okay. Sure. Dungeon cards.
Yeah, dungeon cards is one of the things, is the only mechanic they've talked about, where, like, there are 3 dungeons that exist.
I've played 2 of these.
Yeah, Lost Mines of Phandelver, Tomb of Annihilation, Dungeon of the Mad Mage they're going to introduce. And the object is... Okay, go ahead.
I've done 2 of these, so I recognize them.
I recognize technically all of them by name. I think the idea is that you have these dungeon cards, which are like sort of outside the game, but associated with the your deck. I don't know how many you can have, but the object is, you always have all 3, but never more than one of the same. And when certain cards allow you to use the dungeon, so like the Lost Mines of Phandelver, you've got like the cave entrance, and then you can choose the direction you want to go to the end. And once you get to the end, you've completed a dungeon.
I kind of like that. That's interesting.
And, like, there are certain cards that also you play that you get bonuses if you've completed the dungeon. Like, the Gloomstalker has double strike if you've completed a dungeon. So, like, you might want to, like, play cards to complete it. It's kind of interesting.
Create the Tropal. The legendary 4/4 black. Really, only 4/4 for that one. Alright.
Which one is... Oh, yeah.
The Tropal's like the dead baby god. Is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, why is it only a 4/4?
This feels weird.
Well, that's Death Touch, so I mean, that's...
yeah, it's pretty good. It's just the weird undead baby god.
Magic stats out things weirdly, and it's hard to compare it sometimes. Like, I gotta be honest, like, some of the things that are really, like, large and insane, you're like, okay. And then I compare them to D&D, and they're, like, giving, like, the Tropal, like, a 4/4, and I'm like, wouldn't that be,
That's like a... In 5e, that's like a CR13.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. That thing was epic level in
that
3rd
thing
edition.
Used to be, like, really strong, and then they, like, nerfed it severely in 5e. I still hate this art for Tiamat, by the way. It's still boring.
Yeah, the Tiamat art is boring. The most interesting art, I have to say, is in the alternate art, the common card Evolving Wilds. I should link the alternate art. They made the picture of the card look like an old module from Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh. Let's see.
It's at the bottom of the only land that has alternate art in that section.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's really neat. I like that.
See, this is the kind of thing that gets me as a D&D nerd too, because it's got like the old like second edition book style or
So
first edition.
is this what is this exactly? Is it a layer or is it like a set?
So this is an entire set.
Okay.
Normally during this summer months they have a core set. They kind of had gotten back to this. This is going to be the effective core set during this time, the crossover.
I'll be honest. Like, I mean, I like D&D and I like Magic, so I mean, I could probably pick up like a couple packs and just see what I get. So like, I mean, out of like everything that I've seen from Magic in the last like 2 years, this is the only thing that's interested me.
Yeah, no. I think like I do like Magic and I still pick up stuff from it, but this is like the one that I'm like, I might pick up like a couple of boxes of cards.
Yeah,
just
like,
one,
it's
know?
neat.
Yeah, it's very neat. It fills my kind of like, I would like to make some weird D&D decks or something, you know, and maybe get some weird ideas. I mean, the freaking like some of the just the weird spells that they have, like Power Word Kill, Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I mean, it's just it's interesting to see them in like Magic card form too.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably hit on it more next week because I think next week's going to be a lot of the spoilers are going to start coming out. So we'll see a lot more of these cards. And I guess more mechanics other than Dungeon. Dungeon seems neat. Seems like a neat mechanic.
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
You know? We don't know much more at this point in time. So, it's the weird thing that, like, I guess anybody can have dungeons, but unless you have something that actually uses the dungeon, it doesn't matter.
It's like, oh god, what were they? I forget names of things. The only Magic I play is Magic Arena every, like, once a year at this point, because it makes me mad, because everyone runs the same deck in that fucking game.
Oh, Arena. It's a thing.
But they had, like, these story cards where like they would have effect 1 and then a thing would happen, then effect 2 would proc it, and that I like those.
The Eldraine cards, I think they were, that did that.
Yeah, those ones.
Storybook ones. I mean, like, they've had some interesting ideas over the years for different sets and stuff, and I think that's great that they're very creative and can come up with new and interesting abilities that work. And like, I feel like dungeons, I could compare them to other abilities that have existed out there. There are similar types of things, but
I could get down with building a deck around like one of these dungeons.
Yeah, I think since you can have all three, technically you could have all three.
Yeah.
You know, just choose which one you're going in each time because it depends on the situation. You know, certain I'm guessing dungeons would be better. I don't know if they're. I think they might just be doing just these three, but you know, again, module things. Anyway.
Yeah. We'll know more eventually.
We'll know more. Probably talk more next week. We've given up on the Mage's Strictarian.
I try to read it and my eyes just gloss over.
I think maybe once the actual like Strixhaven book comes out and we know more, maybe that point to discuss it.
Yeah, because I'll probably read the book if I can get my hands on it.
Honestly, the same thing, kind of, on that one.
I mean, I want to run a Magic School game, and that's a Magic School.
It's a Magic School. So, we have a new topic to hit up on here.
Come to this.
They just call it Six Siege, the board game, because I guess they can't use Tom Clancy or Rainbow Six because they only have the actual game from Ubisoft to base it off of, and they don't have the other licenses that Ubisoft has. So it's licensed down the chain. The
months of video game board games being announced, the stars have aligned, and Ubisoft has gifted us this. Yeah. I don't know how to feel. I don't want it. It's just like I decide, sure, I'd give up. Make a board game out of anything, whatever. I hate it.
The thing is, okay, they have the core game, they have operator expansions, of course they do, and then map
Of course,
expansions, and
Well,
then
because of course
mm-hmm.
it's Ubisoft. Also, the pledge to actually get the box is $69. So nice.
I'll give you that one. That's a tough one. Wow.
Just when I thought we couldn't get like any lower with video game board games.
No. Did you check out the It's so Rainbow Six Siege, Ubisoft, live servicey the chart, and they have
what
for on Kickstarter now on sale $69, $199, or $269.
Yeah, I hate.
As to what you get.
This is like too. Oh my god! What?
I think the expansions are actual game expansions. Okay, I understand those exist. People put things out like that. Just the way they say them.
The way
year 1,
is
year 2, year 3.
Are you gonna sell me a season pass, Ubisoft? Ooh, am I gonna have to buy? Ooh, is it gonna come with a battle pass? Will I get extra skins?
It feels so much like that. It just does, and it hits my soul really terrible. It just...
Does it come with a little credit card reader that connects directly to Mr. Ubisoft? Just swipe away, give them more money.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, that core pledge. One free Kickstarter Siege video game skin. Oh my god, they have this.
Of course, of course, it's got tie-ins to the video game. Of course, it does.
Uh-huh. God. Yes. Yes, Lightning. Yes. I just sat back down. You've entered in hell for us. Just as people that play Siege, this is hell. Okay, I was talking to Umber a little bit when I'd heard about this vaguely, and he linked me to stuff on it more, which was great. I think Blaze had vaguely mentioned that it existed, and I was like, what the fuck? And then Umber was like, here's some links to it, and I'm like, grand.
I just who do you get without paying too much money?
The characters you get are pretty basic characters, because the defenders: Mute, Bandit, Tachanka, Pulse, Rook, Capkin, Smoke, Jaeger, Castle, Doc. So it's the normal groups of...
Is there going to be an expansion where they add Clash, but constantly put out statements that you can't play her because they have to rebalance their mechanics?
So they have Clubhouse on back, Consulate on the front. They have location markers, stun markers, bearing bases with adhesive table. Tactical boards, leaning standees, because apparently you can lean. Deployable shield standees, wound tokens, overlays for gas, fire, and smoke. Barricade standees. They've got a lot of standees. And cardboard obstacles. Okay, I'm gonna give you the stuff they actually have is a lot.
I don't have an issue with this kind of game. I think it's because it's Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm just very tired from Ubisoft.
No, they have an alternate Tachanka with a really weird, Viking warrior, medieval warrior skin that you could also get in the game or something. I don't know. With a weird Habana skin too. It's they have they're having little contests for things for part of this that are in the game.
I hate that I like the Habana skin.
The Legion skin's the Habana skin, that mask is kind of cool.
Yeah, I like it. What the fuck is this Legion skin?
Oh, he's like a Chinese zombie. Because he's got the talisman on his face.
Right, yeah, okay. No, I get it.
Yeah. Because he's got the talisman on his face.
It's the jumping vampire.
Yeah, the jump. Yeah. Okay. I
I
mean,
just hate that they've announced like a roadmap for this style kind of like progression. If they would have worded it like and
well,
visualized it in any other way other than like a roadmap,
there's
it would be
Clash.
fine.
God, yep, they've got Clash in year 3. It looks like. And year 5 only has them up all the way up to Malusi and Ayana. And Aruni. Wow, they have pretty much all of them except the new people.
Oh, don't worry. They'll announce year 6 expansion when this comes out.
Oh God. Well, I think they call them years. They're not actual years. I think
No, they're
like,
just expansions.
They're expansions. So it's like
but
again, like
for those who don't know, for Siege, the releases are called years.
yeah,
Because, you know, they come out yearly.
Yeah.
And they have the roadmap with them. So they're playing on that, but it's stupid.
Mhm.
Just call them expansions, please.
yeah. They're playing on the fact that Ubisoft Siege is now in its 6th year.
Because they refuse to make Siege 2.
They really do. It really would help because there's a lot of issues that are with the base mechanics of the game, which
It's not even, it's like the servers as well, and like the engine itself is getting real clunky at this point.
there's always sound bugs. Like, I'm beginning to understand angles a little bit better, but still there's a lot of times that they don't work.
Hey, at least they fixed the sound resetting when the game updates. All your settings resetting.
The best thing that I have to say is, like, I was like, I thought I'd killed someone, and I made, like, a snarky comment about it. Like, dang, I guess I missed him a whole bunch. Apparently, Umber rewatched that just because he was analyzing something that happened, because they have the rewatch function that he did in that match, and noticed me, and then, like, he was like, you really should have killed that guy. And, like, did some math just to make sure, and he's like, wow, yeah, for unknown reasons, didn't kill that guy. You know, it's like...
Good old servers.
Yeah, no, well, it was like, I had a DMR, and it was Dokubi, and I was shooting a Capkin, and it was like, he was doing math, and it's like, my first shot did, like, half the damage it should have. Mysteriously. Yeah, and I'm like, that's something that happened. Don't know why.
That's why I took a 2-month break from playing that game.
I like the game still. I have fun playing the game. You know what I have fun mostly with? Playing with other people. When I get 4 or 5 people, I have a great time.
Yeah, because you just meme.
Or when even me and Blaze, we can have some fun together. You know, just the duos of us.
It's almost like bad things are fun with friends.
That's such a weird thing. It's almost if that's true.
Like how I could see myself having fun with that really shitty D&D video game that came out this week. But only if I played it with 4 people.
Oh God, I've looked at Dark Alliance and I'm just like,
so bad.
I think
I'll get it if I get Game Pass again. I'll try it just to see if it is that bad.
I tried to watch a little bit of Scott Delrick playing it, and like I was watching it for a while, and I'm like, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go lurk. I'm just gonna go do some work and just leave this here because I just can't. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's just crazy. Because again, like it felt when I was watching it sometimes, it felt like the enemies weren't reacting very well.
No, it's almost like it's a bad licensed game.
Yeah, like these goblins that he was arching were just like, you know, standing back and being like, I'm taking damage. I probably should do something, but you know, I'm doing my taxes, goblin taxes.
Ah, yes, goblin taxes.
It's like if one fresh, you know, like horse leg and like you know, like you know, a smoked cat or something, you know.
Smoked cat, yeah.
That sounds like something a goblin would have, honestly.
It does, yeah. When I played a goblin, I did eat a cat, so...
I mean, I will always remember the most awful but ridiculous thing in an evil campaign. It was awful, but it was also ridiculous and kind of silly. Minotaur in an evil campaign with a trail rations that was a sack of kidnapped humanoid children.
Oh my god.
It's so terrible when you think about it, but it's also so silly. You're like, okay, yes, he's a Minotaur, and so it makes sense you know, and it's an evil campaign, but it's also like, oh my god, that's just still so awful, you know, just snacking on the back of kids.
Dude, calm down. I know we're evil, but like, damn.
Anyway, Rainbow Six Siege, the board game.
I don't hate games like this. However,
I don't either is
the
the problem.
branding of it makes me so jaded and cynical.
Yeah, like I just look at this Kickstarter and it hurts my soul just a little bit.
They're paying to do this, and not paying to fix their fucking game.
No. I'm guessing the company that because of the board game, I'm guessing whoever made the board game paid Ubisoft to do this.
Oh, probably. Yeah, that's probably what happened. Because it is missing the actual branding, basically.
Yeah, because they couldn't afford to get Tom Clancy or like the Rainbow Six brand on board, those two brands. So they had to call it R6 after the game, and I can say it's based on that game, but they also got like the basic branding probably from Ubisoft to do stuff.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I like tactical board games, but this is just peak cynicism for me. I think it's just because it's Ubisoft.
That's
got Ubisoft branding, and I hate Ubisoft so much.
Ubisoft does so bad things. They're not a great company. They do a lot of bad things, and it's like an unfortunate thing that like Siege is like the game I like out of what they have.
Siege is the only Ubisoft game I play.
Like, granted, I got that game like 4 years ago, so like during year 2.
I bought that game fucking 5 years ago when it was bad.
I also bought it on sale, so I mean,
yeah, I got it for like $12.
Yeah, so like if they do a Siege 2, you know what I will do? I will probably get it eventually. I will probably wait till it's on sale though, because I will not pay them full price for this.
It looks like they want to release Outbreak or whatever. No, it's not called Outbreak anymore. Is it Quarantine or Outbreak? Whatever. The stupid zombie alien game.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm never gonna buy that.
No. I would have to watch things from it and be blown away by how cool it would be. Actual gameplay. Like, I'm not talking about like
cinematic trailer. And,
not the stuff they put out. Like watching someone else play it and be like, "Damn, that's awesome," you know? Because majority of Ubisoft games that I see someone playing, I'm like,
they're like okay at best.
Yeah, I'm like, well, that's neat. You're playing it. I can see you watching it. If there's an interesting story, I can see it now. And then I'm like, well, I didn't have to play it. That tends to be my attitude for a lot of games.
That's my view of the game industry. I mean, and it's getting to start to spread to the tabletop industry as well.
I mean, there are some...
Slightly. It's because it's being flooded with just cash grab board games now.
Like, at least this one has, like... I feel like this one skirts the line, because, like, the branding hurts our souls. But that's the branding.
But, like, overall, like, these kind of games are cool.
Yeah, and it looks like it's done well, is the thing, too. Like, they thought about a lot of the components that are, like, the basic, probably, playing of Siege. So it's sort of like, they made a decent game. It's just the branding, because we are cynical to Siege, hurts our souls.
Yeah, it's very painful.
Yeah, so R6 Siege, the board game. It's
$69.
$69. I mean, or like $269 if you want like all.
If you want everything, it's very expensive.
I mean, granted, but, like...
Again, miniatures game, so...
Yeah, a miniatures game, and a lot of expansions. Like, this is going to hit into our deeper discussion topics, is which too many expansions, which if you folks didn't notice, that's what it is. So, we'll be hitting into that one. So, this was another topic that I thought about, talking about, but I decided that was one to wait for more people. We have a... more adult RPG, I guess it's supposed to be.
Can I get a link to it if
yes.
one exists?
It does. It's up on Kickstarter, so it's still technically tasteful.
I found the other one, the next one.
The next one.
I didn't find this one.
Alt After Dark.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I already see the like tagline, whatever, saying underneath the title. I'm already like, nah, I'm good.
The thing about these kind of things is like I feel like they're
That's that's a titty. Okay. As
it,
soon as I just scroll down slightly. Oh, all right.
it
I
why do
hate.
more of these?
So much already exists of
Yeah,
this,
like
and I'm of the opinion that it shouldn't really. I like. I, I hate it.
I think that's one of the things is this is a topic that I think I want to talk about another week, which is what I called adult situations in your RPG game. You
Mhm.
know,
Like it's the whole fatal situation shit, right? That like super adult 5e garbage.
oh, I don't know about that one. I was
It's
thinking like third
it's
edition.
awful.
I was thinking back in third edition 3.5, there were two books, one that came out in 3.0 and one that came out in 3.5 that were similar to this. And that's why I thought about talking about it a little bit. There was the Book of Erotic Fantasy
I do know of that book.
and the Blue Book of Magic, which is one that was, I think, a little less known, but I have rediscovered that it existed, that it was something that me and Joe weren't insane about. Because we noticed it at a Borders. Because Borders did have some, like... Borders freaking was not good at keeping things like, I don't know, the Book of Vile Darkness. Like the very evil, very adult book hidden away or something, you know? The thing that you're like, you really have to be like, at least, upper teens to, like, be accessing this book here. Yeah. It's just randomly on the shelf with, other D&D books. Great!
Jesus. But I just don't understand why these books need to exist. And I never have.
I feel like some of it is weird. Like the thing is, like, if I talk about the Book of Erotic Fantasy, we looked through it a little bit, just to see what was in it. Curiosity at the time.
Fair.
I would say about 33% of it junk. You don't need that at all.
Yeah.
33% of it, the next 33, some things that maybe if you're playing something a little bit more adult, or like a situation where, like, like if, let's say, like, my character, was like, we're playing Underworld kind of game and someone's a prostitute or something, might have to deal with that kind of stuff. Not bad. The other 33% was actually interesting. Things like things that were, like, really weird was like, oh, hey, all these species that get together, here's a crossbreeding chart and pregnancy percentages.
That's a book that had, like, the reproduction chart.
See, that kind of thing, like...
That kind of works for world building.
Yeah, it does. And birth times and such like that. Yeah, that works for world building. And it's something that...
Like, that's interesting and neat.
It's not really necessarily needed, but it is interesting and neat, and it doesn't hurt a game to add it in.
It's kind of... Because that thing has kind of come up in games I'm in, where, like, player characters, they'll get together. And, they'll get married and have families and stuff.
Yeah, and, like, if player characters do that, or, like, either with each other or with other people, and time goes on, there might be families that might be formed, and you might have to worry about that, there are games that have time skips, things like that. In this case, I think this is, I don't know, like, just looking at, like, the basic information and reading the stuff about it, this, like, it's taking things in a weird direction. I mean, it's like...
I'm always of the opinion, as soon as, like, sexy time stuff comes up, you fade to black, or it's gonna get weird and awkward for everyone.
I mean, like, I feel like, depending on the circumstances, there could be a couple of things associated with sexy time, but it should be kept relatively light, even then.
Like, in lighthearted and not descriptive.
Yeah, you don't want to go into depth about things, and there can be things that exist around it, but again, like, it's so circumstantial, and I don't know. This is just one of those things that I'm like, this one here.
Yeah, this one's
why?
like a little unneeded, and
And the thing is about this one is these are adventures.
Ugh,
Yeah. These
makes
are
it worse.
this isn't a book like the Book of Erotic Fantasy or the Book of Blue Magic. These are adventures that are like more adult oriented.
God, you can buy a hardcover of this. Imagine. No, I'm good, thanks, dude.
Like,
I also hate this guy's name on the fucking
yeah, like I just
page.
I see this and I'm like, this has gone a few steps too far as to what would be needed
This is
for
like-
adult.
If I'm gonna play a D&D game and then someone pulls this out, I'm gonna get a stick and hit you with it, and then I'm gonna leave because I don't want to be involved in that.
I feel like if you let people know ahead of time, and you also talk about like what
Yeah,
kind
you gotta
of
like
adult
you
game
gotta like
it's going to
talk
be.
about this, talk about your themes. That comes in if we ever talk about session zeros.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, always have one.
Well, I feel like it's session 0 is sometimes the session 1 too, depending on the
It's like
plot.
a session 0.5 sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, session
You
0.
always have one where you talk about things.
Yeah. But like, you know, session 0 / session 0.5 might be just like the first hour of like a thing on stream would be establishing like the session 0 shit for people, you know.
And then like, you know, things you're comfortable with, uncomfortable with, establishing X card rule.
That you talk about off stream, definitely.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I consider like a session 0.
Okay.
Is that kind of stuff.
Usually I think it's like a little bit of that stuff, and then like, you know, the getting the band together kind of stuff tends to be that kind of thing. Establish characters. But like
yeah.
I think like you could definitely have adult situations and stuff. Like I think I was relatively tasteful in the way I did the joint where the characters worked at before you joined them in Records of Evil.
Yeah,
it was literally a strip club for short people to see tall women.
Yeah.
But there was also a brothel side to it, which I heavily implied.
Yeah.
So like
I mean, I've implied that fucking in my Friday game, the parties spent most of their time in the city just staying in an inn that had a brothel upstairs. Did anything come of it? No, no one went to it. I just said, hey, that's a thing. And then I brushed past it.
Yeah, like, you could say, like, oh, yeah, you get him to stay at the brothel or something like that, you know? I think my favorite time of using it was Carrying Crown.
I know. Oh, I know this story.
Different group, and they also had an NPC that was like a big dumb fighter, and they decided to give, because the big dumb fighter had been beat up a lot, had been helping them. They're like, it was in the lodge, and they're like, oh hey, we're gonna pay for you to go enjoy yourself with some people in this tower, which is obviously the, you know, prostitute tower that's in the lodge. So he goes off and does that, and then of course, you know, a giant spider attacks, and he becomes
spider.
And the only thing he brought with him he brought all his stuff with him, so the only thing he runs out with is he's naked and his giant greatsword, you know, to help fight the giant spider.
That's funny though.
Yeah,
like,
so it's
that's
like
just comical and funny.
Yeah, their giant fighter like just leaps in, like stabbing it in the back with his greatsword, you know, like you know, and he's like, is he naked? Yeah, I think we interrupted him. But you know, that kind of thing is like it's
like comical and lighthearted.
And it implied that he was, you know, doing some. You don't know what hell he was doing in there. You don't know what is.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't.
It wasn't necessary.
You could ask him later if you really want to.
If you were interested or like wanted to explore that thing, then that can be a character development thing where you talk about that kind of thing with people.
Or like what we had with Manacle, where Manacle did it and then came out and lied about what he did.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I insight check that? Oh, you're lying.
I think it's the thing that, like, you have to think about how people in real life talk about sex.
Yeah.
It's different levels in different cultures. Like, in the U.S. here, we tend to keep things very lighthearted, I think, a lot of times.
It's usually like a if it comes up, it's usually like a ha-ha funny thing.
Mm-hmm. And certainly getting into things like, you know, kinks and fetishes and stuff, people tend to go a lot into that, you know. that tends to be very private or amongst groups of people that have that you've discovered online, because that's an advantage. So again, it's very difficult for stuff like this to be done well, and
certainly having like an adventure book dedicated to it's pretty weird, dude.
Like, honestly, like, if I had an adventure like that, Naked Vampire Man. Well, that was just, he transforms into a giant monster. He can't have clothes.
Yeah, the clothes get ripped.
He could have taken that power to protect the clothes, but he doesn't fucking care.
He chose not to. He made that life choice.
He made that life choice that if he transforms, he's gonna be naked. He doesn't care. He's freaking like 6,000 years old. He doesn't care anymore. But no. I feel like if I would need something like this, maybe I would find out, and I would have to like read through these things, but I also feel like a lot of them, just from the sounds of it, I would probably have to edit the crap out of to make them decent.
Absolutely.
So I just don't know.
This is something I would never use.
Yeah.
I always just like fade to black.
Yeah. I usually keep it very simple, like, oh, you had a good time, or something like that,
I mean, to be honest, every D&D player has ordered a prostitute. That's just like a universal thing. A lot of them do it. Who cares?
It's like Mads in my Thursday game tried to seduce a number of elven women, got really drunk, and then they just they of course were technically seduced. They just took the drunk woman home because, they assumed that's what was wanted, and Mads was like, I'm fine with this, I got kidnapped by a harem.
That's fine. Like, you can make light of that situation. Like, I've had the thing where, like, I, as a character who, engaged in some activities, and the DM was like, alright, for fun, roll me a d20. I rolled a 1. Oh, it's a terrible time, buddy. You had a real bad time.
Well, I think for me, I might be like, if I feel like a jest about something, or like something like drunk carrion, I would be like, make a constitution check. You do not last very long. You're not great at this kind of thing, like something like that, You're certainly not the dominant one in this group, kind of thing like that. I wouldn't say it would be a bad time. That would be up for the people. But I might, like, give some suggestions on, like, maybe they weren't ready for it.
Even in my Friday game, I've given Lightning a joke flirt proficiency. It's just for fun and never does anything. And the one person, like, he constantly just nat 20 flirts with this fucking goblin who runs an artificer's shop. But then, like, the one, like, dragon sorcerer did it once, rolled a natural 1. So it's just for jokes. You are proficient in flirting, yes.
Yep. Well, let's continue on. We got a few more topics, and I want to talk about another role-playing game that's an odd one. SCP, the tabletop role-playing game. Okay.
I mean, I like SCPs, I've read a few of them. They're neat. I could see this being, like, a fun thing.
Like, I remember when, many years ago, a bunch of, like, YouTubers would play Containment Breach. I liked seeing that. That was kind of neat, the idea of a lot of those kind of things. And the idea that if you're a member of an organization like that and basically capturing things that are like weird shit from across the world, that's neat.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's fun. Like, and I mean, there's not like a lot of horror-esque role-playing stuff. Because horror is hard to do in a role-play tabletop setting, to be fair.
And I feel like SCP is pretty better about that, because it's not like it can kind of be direct horror, but it's also it's
often like a lingering thing, right? Like an atmosphere kind of deal,
and oddities, too.
Like, they're like weird things.
Yeah, strange things happen, and it can be bad,
It can be a bit spooky.
So, and like the idea that I think like online there's a lot of goddamn SCPs people have
there's
talked about.
So many.
So I mean, like, it does open it up that you can add in a lot, I mean, it is a 292-page book that they're selling. PDF's $25, hardcover's $60.
That's like $60 hardcover's kind of average.
Yeah, especially for a book that size. It's not bad. It's right in the right price. I'm interested. They say it uses the standard 7 dice set. They don't talk. I would have to probably like watch some videos or something on it about
have to read rules and stuff.
Yeah. But it also has like it has an optional drama card system. That is a deck of 82 unique effects to keep the director, your GM, on their toes. So I guess there's like in dramatic situations, like people might have like a boost or something. You know, that like, so like, it would be interesting that like it's not just your characters like rolling stuff. You like kind of like, you might be like, oh, I'm gonna draw a drama. You can draw a drama card, and then it's like me as the DM have to you know, it doesn't have hunger dice apparently. So
unfortunate.
Yay, lightning. And you start with a security level, and I guess you can earn more security levels as the more insane crap happens. You might, what was it like? Wasn't there like rubber duckies that just existed out, and like you just look and they'd be there or something, you know?
Yeah, there's like a bunch of weird stuff like that.
So you can deal with that shit. It's like, God damn it! I thought I put
some things are just harmless
and just weird, you know? It's just like, is there a rubber duck over there? Wait, how did it get there?
Not again.
I thought I sealed that away. God damn it.
My favorite SCP is that one Pathfinder centaur that just makes more centaurs.
Oh my god, yeah. Mm-hmm. I forget what it's called, but I remember that one. It was great. The non sequitur, non sequitur. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. But I mean, like, again, it's cool that, you know, contents relating to SPC, including SPC Foundation logo, licenses under Creative Commons Share Alike 3.0, and all concepts original from the wiki and its authors. So they are using the logo and information from the actual, like, wiki for SCP. So
that's pretty good.
It's relatively, I think, because it's a little bit like the D20 license, you know, or whatever they call it now. I think it's a little bit like that they have it open, because they have, like, if people put more they're allowed to put more stuff on there or stuff.
There's so much.
So yeah, neat. SCD, the tabletop RPG. I mean, honestly, I would not be against trying it. Apparently, it was a Kickstarter back in the beginning of the year, and
it made its goal pretty smashed its goal.
1,500%.
People like SCP.
Yeah. So yeah. So they got the full.
No hunger dice though, so I don't know if I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the most 80s board game of them all.
Oh boy.
Summertime by WizKids, featuring DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. This is a thing. I just
looking at this picture of these two.
Just looking at the cards, they feel so like weirdly colorful, and I'm like, that feels so 80s. That was like right at the tail end of the 80s, where I just
this is like 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, right at that time period, it was just like, oh god.
Or alternatively, all of the 90s, because the 90s was nothing but trying to be the 80s.
This is true. Player vibe. Maxin, +1 crown for each, I guess, cassette player. Buzzin, +1 crown for each B. And Hustlin? For money? Oh my god, player vibe cards.
This hurts.
And you can have the salon, the block party. Oh god, the block party. The cookout, and the family reunion.
What hurts worse is I know people who wouldn't understand any references in this.
Vibe cards. Oh, there's cruise, action, unwind. Oh my god, these are so crazy. These cards, when I look at them.
Like multiple friends who would not like understand the references in these because they're young. They're just not old, and they were not 90s people.
See, like, I know if I would take this to Mads, she would not know it. Fish.
If I would play this with like Lynn wouldn't understand any of this.
Like, Fish, on the other hand, at least has an idea of the past and has recognized some of it, so would probably recognize a little bit of it. Not as much, but of course would be at least better. And they're still, both of them are incredibly young. But, like, you know, it's the entire thing of, there's definitely been people in that generation that don't even bother. Like, I learned of media from, like, the 70s, 80s before me, 70s, 60s, 50s. I know that stuff, you know? I know stuff from the media before me. I learned about it, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's crazy looking. So DJ Jazzy Jeff and the French Prince invite you to hang out with them at the hottest spots in Philly. Oh, sweet, it's Philly.
Philly.
They're coming and hanging by me.
God. I feel like I'm aging.
You cruise, groove, and unwind across town, trying to vibe with them and prove you're the coolest in the crew. Woo! Oh god, you have a limited number of cards that are worth different values. Read your opponents. I guess you're trying to be the coolest member of the crew? I don't know.
Who is this for? Is what I want to know.
I honestly don't know. I just look at this and I'm like, this is insanity.
I don't want to remember the 90s.
There were some things in the 90s that I enjoyed. Some. And then there was the rest of it that we all forget.
Yeah, that should stay dead.
Like, I can tell you there was a gigantic snowstorm in the Northeast during the 90s that was really awesome because we had to make an epic travel out to our local 7-Eleven that we had to go through the snow. Like, you know, it's not that far, but when it's like, you know, snow that's like, you know, 6 feet deep and I'm like 3 foot tall, you know, it's difficult.
Super cold and...
You know, and you're going with your family trying to, like, trek across it to get milk. It's like, shit, we forgot to pick up milk. You know, something like that. I mean, like, nowadays people are a lot better at, like, you know, oh, hey, I should probably...
I mean, nowadays we don't really get that kind of snow.
Yeah. Not, like, big snowstorms like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen a blizzard in, like, a couple of years. That was, like, debilitating. I've seen snow. It still exists, I swear.
Yeah, 1 or 2 years ago, we had a pretty big one. I think it might have been the year before the Great Darkness came upon us.
Oh,
so it might have been
before times.
2019, 2018, one of those. Yeah. I think there was a pretty big blizzard one of those years. And
probably.
I remember it, you know, just... granted, it wasn't as big as the one I'm thinking of, but it was still pretty big. You know, it was
I've gotten some pretty big blizzards here. But, like, where I live is kind of like that weird area of we either get no snow or the lakes dump too much snow upon me. And then I get mad. So I have to go shovel it.
Yeah, we're, like, we're technically on the kind of area of the Appalachians, so we get snow because it's that weird thing of, like, we're at an elevation, but it's hard to tell because, you know, you never know. It's like... It's hard to tell for transitioning because it's like that subtle transition of like hilliness, you know?
Very easy to tell where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Live right in the Appalachian Plateau.
So, like,
that's exactly where I live.
If I look around, I don't see any kind of rises or stuff unless I go to the north. It feels pretty flat. But then, like, I just travel like a little bit to the south and it gets very hilly. And I'm like, oh, yeah, because we've kind of risen up. And then if we go to a little to the north, it becomes hilly again. You know, it's sort of like, yes.
I live in the mountains.
I'm on this flat portion between the hills. You know, I'm on a little like plateau area. Great.
One of those coastal people, technically.
I'm close enough to the coast. I mean, I can get to
You can probably drive there. I can't.
Oh, it's like a 2.5 hour drive to the coast.
I'd have to drive across the entire state.
Yeah, that's a hell of a thing, driving across.
Just go to Erie instead.
Yeah, honestly speaking, like, I gotta say, like, it's the unfortunate thing that, like, most of the coastal places, only one of them I feel like I enjoy. Because Atlantic City sucks.
Yeah, Atlantic City blows.
Wildwood is a carnival game haven, so that's what you're there for. You're good. And I like Ocean City, but it's very hard to go there and not be filled with people.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to go during... you want to go during late spring, early summer, when kids are still in school.
I like Erie because you can just go rent a cabin and chill out by a big lake.
Well, I'm gonna do that shit to the south anyway.
Yeah, you just have to go down the state.
I can go down to Maryland, and that's like a 4-hour drive.
Seems very nice.
I
haven't been to Maryland in a long time.
I gotta see if I could still, like, if I could pick up people, I would do a trip to Maryland still. There's like
I'd 100% like go, just because I miss people.
Like, I was thinking of trying to organize a group for it, but like my normal group, I couldn't get together. Maybe I could find to see if there's still some dates and like ask if there's people like from the online friends who want to show up.
Lynn up here.
Yeah.
And we can all go and play in person D&D and enjoy nature.
It's really nice. I gotta say, I could share
pictures. It does look really nice from the pictures.
Yeah, it's great.
I saw some like otters and shit.
Yes, you can go to a local like little museum, which like I think is like $10 to get in, and they got otters and like they got a little aquarium there, and like it's also like a maritime museum if you like that kind of thing, and then it's also got like a fossil area too because of Chesapeake. It's really nice. And anyway,
off topic.
Off topic. Summertime.
I hate it, but also I don't really care.
It's a thing that exists now.
It reminds me I'm getting old.
Look, as soon as I saw they had like DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince on there, I'm like, I gotta talk about this.
Both of those.
Well, the Fresh Prince is Will Smith,
Yeah, I would hope everyone recognizes those, but also like, I know people who are much younger than me.
Yeah, DJ Jazzy Jeff, I'm not sure if people would recognize him as much, because I know the name,
Probably
but I don't remember a lot of stuff he did, So, how are we doing on time?
We got like an hour.
I'm going to skip the Star Trek Adventures thing. It was just another adventure that was kind of a little interesting.
I still want to do more Star Trek.
Yes. It was a little interesting, but it wasn't like super interesting, and they just released another adventure, so like that I was going to talk about a little bit, because I do like the Star Trek.
It was pretty fun when I played it.
Yeah. TSR, the original makers of Dungeons & Dragons, has reformed under Gary Gygax's son. If you don't know Gary Gygax, he's the co-creator of D&D,
Yep. He's the reason that some voice actors made the hobby explode.
Yep. So the thing about it is it's based out of Lake Geneva, the original home of TSR. They're going to be making RPGs and some of their own brand merchandise. So I'm guessing they're doing some actual RPG work, but they're also capitalizing on their rebirth of the original company.
We made this thing that everyone loves now.
So they're going to be publishing Giant Lands, which was a successful Kickstarter back in 2019. I don't know a lot about it. It's a science RPG. I don't know if I talked about it or not. Honestly, can't remember. I talk about a lot of random Kickstarter RPGs, and if it was a Kickstarter one, I might have missed it. So they're putting a wide release on that one. They're publishing a game also called Tales and Tots, that they haven't really said a lot about that one. They're going to be operating a dungeon hobby shop museum in the first TSR office building in Lake Geneva. That's really cool. That one's kind of one of those things of like a museum of the D&D hobby and the stuff that's evolved from that. That I kind of like. The company also has some original employees. The man who helped co-write the Shrine of Tumak-chan.
I've played that. I've actually run it.
Okay, I've heard of that one. I didn't know a lot about it.
It's got reprinted in Tales from the Yawning Portal.
Okay. And then Giant Lands also had some former TSR employees that are now going to be, joining the main company because, Giant Lands is joining with them. It's also interesting to see that there was a lot of licensing issues up until now, with the TSR name and branding and stuff. But they're back, and that's such a weird thing to return,
Yeah.
Like, there's the link to their current site where you can... Yeah, you can click on the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum. Which, I mean... they have events going on. and stuff like that they talk about. I think they're building up stuff, you know. It sounds
Yeah,
like it's new.
I have no issues with these folks.
Yeah.
I didn't play their form of D&D.
Yeah.
But, you know, certainly happy that they made it.
Yeah. Honestly speaking, like, as much as I'm more of a child of 3rd edition, because that's where I really got into it, I technically cut my teeth on 2nd edition, which is what? Or 2nd edition revised, I should say, because there was a 2.5 in AD&D. It's one of those things people forget.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. So that was one really that I cut my teeth on, because that came out during the 90s. And that's the big one I hit on. But yeah, the old editions, that's where I started with Thaco and crap like that. You know, that's
Good
was my
old
first,
Thaco.
which we've heard Umber Soul with.
Heard many people describing Thaco.
It's technically simple. That's what I love to say about it.
It technically is easy.
Yeah, it's just like explaining it and getting people to like get that like click is difficult, I think.
It's basically just the reverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With negative numbers for some reason.
But no, I'm gonna be interested to see what they do with getting resurrected.
I mean, I certainly hope it's more than selling T-shirts with their name on it.
I mean, again, they've got 2 properties, and we'll see how successful those properties go. Giant Lands and Tales and Tots. But I mean, other than shirts with their name on it or a museum. I mean, those are neat things, but those don't feel very like a gaming company to build. You know?
Yeah.
You could have done that thing without that.
I hope they're not just gonna ride on them being the hey, they made tabletop RPG technically, because it's not the same.
They made it a thing, I guess you could say.
They kind of made it a thing. Gary Gygax is considered the father of tabletop RPG, even though it technically existed in some form before him.
Yeah,
he's the one who made it like good, quote unquote, for that time, and then it just continued to get better.
Yeah, I think that's the best way of kind of describing it. Is he made it decent.
Yeah.
So, all right. Why don't we hit up our deeper discussion topic then?
Discussion time.
Which is something that like the Rainbow Six Siege brought up. Too many board game expansions.
Yeah.
This is a thing that, like, I consider thinking about sometimes, where, like, I take very different examples. Something like a Munchkin, I feel skirts the line, because a lot of them can be played on their own, you know? And they tend to have, like, a few expansions per type of Munchkin, you know, if they have any. So I feel like because that nature, it kind of skirts the line. On the other hand, the fucking original Arkham Horror had way too many expansions.
God,
I
really
got like most of them. I got like 9 out of 10 of them, and you can't
only have like base Arkham Horror.
You can't run with all of them. It's so difficult.
Yeah, and like there's also this thing of like some expansions are just pointless.
Yeah.
Like I'll use fucking Battlestar Galactica board game. They have like this expansion which it's like half useful. It added in like multiple destinations for the end, but then it added in like this whole had a Caprica board, which just makes the game take too long and is too much of an overcomplicated mess, so no one uses it. And I feel like they could have just not released that.
Things like Carcassonne, I like it, but they have a billion big expansions and mini expansions which all add rules, and some of them are better than others. Like they fucking Catapult, where you had like a little like flip thing where you would catapult stuff. I'm like, those never work. You're adding like, there are games that use things like that. There are games that are made to do that. You're adding that to my tile placement game? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, like shit like that just never works either. Like there's an entire board game with the concept of a thing being moved around, and it never works. Mousetrap, it never functions.
Yep.
So why?
So like, I feel like there are certain games that get a few expansions that usually that's okay, you know. Um, the original Pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
There were like I think 3 expansions that I could remember. One of them I didn't get because, honestly speaking, it was an entirely different game mode, and you could read about it, and it was like I think it was like in the lab, where like you would have 2 teams of people almost, like one person working in a laboratory for stuff and one person working in the field, and I'm like that seems really complex and a different way of playing it. I don't want to deal with that complexity, you know.
Yeah.
If you do, great.
Another one, Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride
has too many expansions, too many boards, too many different it's just too many boards, and it's the same game each board,
well,
really. But that kind of is fine because you don't have to. If you live in Germany, you're gonna buy the German one.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy the Germany board.
I feel like Ticket to Ride has too many tickets to rides, but skirts the line because they're like
it makes sense to have them.
They're alternate maps kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, honestly speaking, like the 2 Ticket to Rides that I think are the ones that are the most fine, and after that it gets a little crazy, were the original, and then Europe, because the Europe added ferries, tunnels, and train stations. So it was like, you know, it's like you had your basic one, and then you had your slightly more complex one.
I mean, like there's a Ticket to Ride that I think is just like New York City. It's like I think it's like you're building the subway, and that's kind of neat, but also,
well,
but like it's different though. It's like a different kind of train, so I guess it's fine.
It reminds me of something that the people that do Pandemic did, which I think when they did it, I was like, why the hell are you doing this? This is stupid. They did not a disease game, but they used a similar mechanic to it. Their normal mechanic of spread. They did was it the Netherlands and the locks and preventing them from flooding. Did I say that right? Like, you know, the area that's below water, Dutch, the you know, tulips and windmills. I'm thinking of this correctly, right?
I don't actually know.
I think that's the Netherlands. My brain is a little European fried, but it's the area that they've got below seawater. That they've got, you know,
that is like Dutch, because most of the Netherlands is below sea level.
Yeah, but anyway, it's this entire thing of like, oh, it's like things are bursting and flooding, and you have to deal with that, and that's your entire thing, and it's spreading like the diseases spread in Pandemic using similar mechanics.
Weird.
It was weird, but they did that.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's the unfortunate thing that I feel like it's that fine line in games, and and sometimes it's hard to see that line, you know?
Yeah, it is. Like, it also, like, expansions are expensive.
Yeah.
They can very quickly make a board game way too expensive for most people.
I agree. It's like, if you have the base game and it's like $40, great. But like when they're like, hey, these 3 expansions add a lot to the game, and each of them is $20, you've now made your $40 game a $100 game.
Like, that's another thing I'll shit on, or like kind of chat about with the Battlestar Galactica board game. All the expansions are heavily mechanics based and just make the game more fun, to the point where I can't play the base game anymore because it's too boring and there's like not enough things to do.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, is that like a lot of these games, when they add stuff, they make it better. Like, I gotta be honest, like we were talking about Castle Panic, and I didn't know a lot about those expansions. I haven't kept a track of them, but I only knew about the first one, which is the Wizard's Tower. The Wizard's Tower made Castle Panic so much better. Like, I liked original Castle Panic, but as soon as they got that Wizard's Tower, I'm like, oh my god, this is like improved it 100%. You know, It was like a new, interesting mechanic. It worked well.
Yeah, like with Battlestar, for example, in base game, there's not really much you can do to a base star outside of using one of your 2 nukes on it, and that's a valuable resource. You may need that later.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the expansions adds a military ship that follows you that can shoot the base star for low damage, but you're still damaging it.
Mm-hmm.
But a Cylon can also go onto that ship and use it to shoot the Galactica itself, giving Cylons more things to sabotage as well before they die and have to go to the Cylon fleet.
Mm.
So it just makes it more fun, and like, if someone's going over to that ship, you have to start thinking, what are they going to do on that ship?
Yep. I think it's a tough thing that, like, there are very good expansions to games that add a lot to them, but it's the other thing that, like, also there are superfluous expansions that don't add a lot, and it's just this weird balancing act between the two of them. You never know when it's going to occur.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta be honest, like, I for a while was getting a lot of the zombies expansions for the tile-laying zombie fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really play with a lot of them because, like, I had to set up special rules for it because they were, like, sort of standalone sometimes, you know, but not really. It was weird, you know. It's sort of like you couldn't play it without the base game, but it was its own thing entirely. And I'm like, that's kind of an annoying expansion.
Yeah.
You know.
And then there are also games that I'll use as an example. Sure, Paradox games are basically fucking board games.
Mm-hmm.
There are points where a board game can release so many expansions that are basically required that they will EU for themselves and just have too much.
Yeah. What's like, talking like, you know, it's the same thing for there's a lot of like video games and stuff. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's an unfortunate thing that, like, you know, especially things like Civ 6, Civ
Paradox
5,
biggest...
Stellaris. You know, they have a lot of expansions. It's the same kind of issue with those kind of things. That the thing is, like Stellaris, they add a lot every expansion.
Yeah.
And it's like
to the point where base game Stellaris is bad.
Yeah. Like, I haven't even played with the new expansion for that one, and I wanna, but I keep, like I just haven't done it, you know? There's a whole bunch of stuff. And maybe some point I should do
Organize a Stellaris night.
Yeah, Stellaris night, we'll do some spy work and test it out.
I'll become the Crisis and slip on a banana peel and kill myself, probably, because I'm real bad at Stellaris.
I'll try not to be a dick about it.
Don't eat me immediately,
I'll
please.
try to build tall, not wide. I know I'm always tempted to build wide, you know, expand my
we're
empire
gonna have
borders.
this problem of there's gonna be 2 people who build wide.
I've got to keep my
no.
keep my borders, you know, just not be tempted, not go to war with anybody, just improve my territory inside,
if you
know.
Misbehave, I will slap you.
Yeah.
I will kill your systems.
Look. It's the one thing that I've got to work on doing because I know it's a strategy that's a good one. I'm very good at the building wide strategy. The building tall, not as much, and I know I have to work on that. But getting back to board games, like there's a lot of board games that I think I like some you can't get expansions on. There are other board games that have similar like branding but are different. Like I got an example. I don't know how many people know Cranium.
I think I do.
Cranium, it's a party game.
Yeah, I know. I think I know it.
It's a fun party board game. You know, it's got like drawing, charades, stuff like that, clay. There is another version of it called, like, I think it was like Hoopla, which is like Cranium was played in teams. Hoopla, everybody's in the same team, and it's against like a timer. You know, you have to work together as a big old team and get done the timer or something like that. You know, so again, both interesting, have same branding. Or like something like Fluxes. I think I would always say the Fluxes were always interesting because they were each different. You know, if I had a Star Trek Flux, it would be different than a blah 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 Flux. You know, something like that.
Yeah. I want to say the Betrayal series, but they're all kind of the same game.
Yeah, like
They're all kind of identical, every version.
Fortunately, Betrayal hasn't had a lot of expansions, so I think it's done
I
okay.
think like the last, because they've got like the Baldur's Gate one,
Which is its own thing, and then it's
they've,
got
they've got the Scooby Doo one.
which I think is again its own thing.
Yeah, so they don't really do expansions. They're just kind of the same thing, but like rethemed.
They added the Attic one, I think, which also added like another 60 adventures you could do, which I thought was pretty cool. So,
Munchkin, I think, certainly has too many.
Munchkin.
They're also, you don't need most of them.
Yeah, Munchkin. I have to say, like, if they had stuck away from like the branding ones, I think it would have been a lot better. You know, that's what I have to say.
Like, they just like license too much.
Yeah, too many licensed Munchkins. If we removed the licensed Munchkins, I think it would be a lot better.
Yeah, there'd probably be a lot less too.
Yeah. Man, like,
when am I getting my sweet Monopoly expansion?
Well, Monopoly's just there's
making that?
Versions. There's just too many versions.
Yeah, but there's no expansions yet.
There could be. Monopoly,
exactly.
The expansion. Could be. I don't know. It's this weird issue that, like, I think the idea of too many expansions comes down to a couple of details. It's too many when you have to spend too much money on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's too many when it makes the game too complex.
It's too many when it takes up way too much space for one product, technically.
Mm-hmm. And it's too many when it, like, I would say, like, what's the way to say it? It takes up too much time, I think.
Right, because it makes it too long.
Like, Arkham Horror, there's a lot of those expansions you do not need to play with.
Yeah.
But if you have all 9, and it still takes a heck of a long to set up, and it takes even longer with the 9, you know, I have to say. Granted, again, playing with them partially, not bad usually. It works pretty well, you know. I've done it a few times, because I do own them all. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't have an excuse to have something that has an hour setup, 3 to 4 hours of gameplay, and then, like, maybe half an hour to take things down.
Yeah. This is why I tend to lean more towards, like, stuff like Coup or Mysterium, because they're super quick setup, fairly quick play time. You can get multiples in one night.
I would always be down for Clue, and I'm sad more people don't like Clue.
I know.
It's simple but fun.
It's very fun.
Yeah. So, I would like Clue at some point. But yeah, no.
Clue takes like an hour max.
Mysterium's fun though too. I do like Mysterium a bunch. And that's one that has like very simple expansions, you know?
Yeah, it's got like some more cards.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the expansions.
Yeah, like those kind of expansions are good. Dixit. That's a card game I like, which is like a kind of storytelling one.
I've never played
it. It feels... If we've done the tabletop sim version of Mysterium, you know that they can allow you to use Dixit cards.
You can use Dixit cards for
because they're weird and like very
dreamlike.
It's the entire idea that like it's one of those games that you want to give a clue, put down a card, everybody else puts down a card.
I think I've seen people play.
Yeah, and you want people to vote for your card, but not everybody and not nobody. It's that weird coin time, you know.
That makes sense.
You want to partially trick people or get them to vote for your card, you know. But so like you might get screwed over that someone has a card that's so much better for you, whatever fucking term you said was, you know, the weird one. But yeah. Man.
Certainly though, when you announce a board game and are like, here's all of our expansions we have planned, I hate that.
Like,
because you've clearly developed them.
Yeah. Miniatures based games like the Siege one, I understand those levels of expansions. I don't like them, but I understand those. Because
there are some that are not miniatures games that I've seen do that.
Yes. You know, I think it's like certain games like, you know, the Siege one, where new maps, new operators, and having a lot of those expansions and like things like that, it makes sense to have a lot of that, you know. other things, it kind of becomes like a hard thing to kind of talk about. It's hard to remember like all the ones. Like if a game doesn't, if an expansion doesn't add a lot, you know, it just comes down to that. It's like you always have to analyze what an expansion adds to your experience, and it could easily be a board game where one expansion kind of ruins the things. Honestly, you never know.
Yeah.
And it becomes very situational. Like the D&D miniatures games, the great thing about them is they're each individual, they're each expensive, but they talk about using them together.
Yeah.
You know,
like Red Dragon Inn does that as well.
Mhm.
There are technically 8 big expansions, but all 8 are different games.
yeah, you could play them individually, or you could play them together.
Yeah, you could have them all together.
Yeah, because all it does of all together is you've got different characters. You know,
They literally describe it as a modular card game.
yeah, and I think like that's when I like playing Munchkin at most, when I can combine a couple of them together or something. But it's really still there's like, I think the branding is what ruins Munchkin. Like they've got too much like, I'm sorry, what we were talking about, like, okay, cool, the Munchkin Apocalypse Kaiju,
Mhm.
that's neat. SpongeBob Munchkin, why the fuck?
Red Dragon Inn also kind of approaches the it costs too much money now.
Yes.
Each expansion is like $38.
Yeah. And it's cool that they're adding new characters. It's cool you could play them on their own, but it's still like that kind of thing where like it's a lot. They've done a lot of it, you know, and
yeah,
numbers.
Like, well, it's such a fun game, but by like maybe 2 expansions, then you're good.
Smash Up, Small World do that a lot. They add these expansions that add stuff to it, but it just feels like too much sometimes, you know? Smash Up, which I think I sort of talked about before, where it's like, cool, there are these decks of cards where, you know, everybody takes 2, combines them, and that's your group, and you never know what kind of combination you have. You could add more weird combinations, you know? And they have very different ways of playing when you add 2 together. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
When you have, like, you know, I don't know, 10 expansions with different card groups, it becomes hard to do that.
Yep, it really does.
You want that creativity. You want those options, but then again, it's expensive to get those options. Ugh.
Yep.
Like,
board games are already kind of an expensive hobby to start out with.
Yeah.
But
I mean, honestly, if PAX Unplugged, I might buy some more. I probably would buy something.
I'll probably end up buying the new Red Dragon Inn expansion.
Mm-hmm. But because I'll be there physically in person and with people, I'll be the excuse to.
Yeah,
I should see if I can convince people to show up for PAX Unplugged, too.
Where is it?
Philadelphia.
I could probably go.
Yeah. You know, I could
Probably
maybe.
Depends when the next one happens.
December.
I could probably go.
Yeah. That's the only thing is after this sort of like online one, I think they're planning for West currently. They haven't canceled it. They're doing their online East PAX thing, where it's weird. But I signed up for a media pass, which I don't know what that does, because they said, "Do you want to sign up for a media pass?" And I'm like, "Sure." I don't know what it is. A media pass for online.
That's weird.
Maybe I honestly
maybe you like some goodies or something,
or like, you know, maybe like people like still like hit me up for stuff, because I honestly still get from last year's PAX East, I still get emails from groups of people that are like, "Hey, are you interested in our video game?" And I'm like, "No." This is a Switch game, or this is a VR game. I can't do these physically.
So many people that are like who have stopped doing like PAX and stuff as jobs, and like it's so much more enjoyable to not be asked by everyone in existence, "Do you want our thing?"
Well, I mean, the one thing I liked about it is like I liked using the media room and like having that kind of pass and stuff. It was very easy, and it was getting in free, which helped a lot in convincing myself to go, because that's like $100, you know, that I'm saving. when I'm worried about, like, I'm driving up to PAX East because
Yeah.
I'm not affording flight to that place, and I'm then getting a hotel,
Mhm.
and I probably wouldn't have been able to get the hotel if I didn't get lucky and Jinx came and joined me. It's very nice. It was very nice spending time with her. We only chatted a few times, picked up some food from takeout randomly. Like I said, like, hey, do you want something from this place I'm getting takeout from? And she just said sure or no. We called it a day. That's fine. That's not, like, super great for, like, spending time with people, but, that's a decent hotel. And getting someone that you're associated with and maybe not the best friends with, and definitely, like, there's some people I would want to hang out with more anyway, but I'm getting distracted. I like Jinx, I just don't chat with her enough.
I feel that with a lot of people. But board games.
But, yeah. I think what I have to say in the end about it all is judge it for yourself. Like, a base board game can be wonderful. Look at the expansions, judge them for yourself, check out reviews of them, find out if it's affordable, if it's worth it to get the expansions, if it's affordable to get the expansions, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So. Yep. Man. Fucking Munchkin.
Goddamn Munchkin. I mean, I've only played it a few times, yet there are so many versions of it I could continue to play.
I like them. That's the problem. They are a fun
I like
game.
Munchkin. Like, I will never turn down a chance to play it, but there's just too much of it, in my opinion.
Way too much of it. Just too much. We want to talk about our week in gaming?
Yeah, we could do that.
I'll consider Rainbow Six Siege our Kickstarter for today. If you want to support it looks cool as a miniatures game, but if you feel like you're not frying your brain on the fact it's Siege,
it's already funded too.
Yeah, certainly be getting it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we did some things. We not playing this game? Yeah.
We did something on Saturday, and a very bad thing happened to someone.
Yes, that's correct. We lost a player.
We lost Kilmer.
Yep.
And we lost our barbarian. He got slapped.
We defeated the kobolds, but he decided that this big boss man that's right in front of me, I gotta fight him.
The best part of that is the boss didn't directly kill him. A barrel did. That exploded.
Yes. I mean, honestly, the boss breath weaponing still might have killed him. Honestly.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But, like, he was dropped by the barrel, then got back up with very small
and then died.
And then died to a breath weapon, which basically raises you as an undead.
It's undead shadow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was one of those things. Someone healing him might have killed him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that comes down to sometimes recognizing order of operation in a game where it's sort of like, okay, he's going to act after me. I probably shouldn't do this one thing that he can react to. But that's not always something any of us take into account. Honestly. Myself included.
Yeah. Also, I'm dumb. And Viren was obviously going to try to save her literal best friend.
Yeah. No, and it was unfortunate.
We killed a shit ton of kobolds, though.
We did. And we drove off the evil half-dragon for us to fight another day in the future.
Fucked him up, though.
Honestly speaking, I probably would have participated more towards the back end.
Your internet exploded.
My internet exploded, and apparently, like, there was a bunch of things that went...
We did have a plane as well.
We did have a plane.
Which Kelmer jumped out of. And then flew down. And then when the big bad came, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Kelmer insulted his mother.
Yeah, I mean, like...
And then tried to hit him with a maul.
When he was just like, horrible death beam. And I'm sorry, if I got hit with a beam like that like, damaged me that much, I would have been like, I'm going to reconsider this.
Like, all right, have a nice day, bye.
Also, like,
if I would have got hit by that, I would be like, bye, step of the wind, run.
It's also like I probably would have waited for the rest of the people to show up, but like I know.
Comedy of errors and sad, tragic.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Even worse for Viren.
Well, I feel like it's also been like a little bit more of an inspiration for like Marty, because like I when I thought about it more, that's why I decided to take that like leadership feat, the inspired leader, because I'm like, our team really hasn't had a leader, and Marty's like, I should have stepped up and been more of a leader position.
We had kind of a leader in a Dragonborn who said no to everything.
Yeah, and Marty's got to be like, fuck that shit. We need a real leader.
We're doing it my way.
Yeah, I should have been there to be like actually give orders and stuff, or say something like that.
Viren is so sad now. This is Viren's best friend, dead.
Yep. And then he had to die twice too, because he had to kill him in the shadow.
I had to kill an undead version of him. That's not good for someone's mental health.
Nope. We've learned that in a couple of games. Killing undead versions of people that you cared for just doesn't really do a lot for you. You're like, this is traumatizing. Wonderful.
Put it on the trauma pile.
Trauma pile.
Kilmer died like 4 times.
He did.
Kilmer lasted more rounds than Kilmer had any right to. Yes,
he did. He lasted longer than he had any right to, and it was pretty epic. I gotta be honest.
And then he went out in an unfortunate way.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of unfortunate rolls, but But no, otherwise, it was an interesting session. I didn't do anything Sunday. We didn't do Pathfinder because it was Father's Day, right?
There was Father's Day.
Yes. Granted, like, I sort of did some Father's Day stuff. It was more like we were belatedly celebrating my brother's birthday and Father's Day, so we went out to eat.
I didn't do anything Father's Day.
I went out to eat as a family, and then I actually physically hung out with Joe and chatted with him for a while.
Hell yeah.
Because where I'd gone to is like a half an hour to the south of us. We wanted to go to like an Olive Garden for the event, and the Olive Garden happened to be nearby to an area where Joe had just taken his father out for Father's Day. So Joe was like, well, I got like a couple hours to kill before I have to get back and do some stuff with my stepson, or to-be stepson, because he's still, I think he technically hasn't gotten married yet.
I think that's correct.
Yes, I think it's just affordability on that one, have to wait till like, the right time.
Yeah, it happens.
Yep. But,
I didn't do anything on Saturday, but like I can talk about Saturday stuff next week because I joined a game for Saturday, or for Sundays rather.
Ooh.
We'll be playing a Dragonborn Warlock.
Nice. Neat. Yeah.
We didn't do Monday.
No, we didn't do Monday.
Records continues to be cursed.
It is unfortunately cursed. It's just, I'm hoping this week will be the last one, but we just have to have one more session. And as I said, it's probably only going to be an hour or two at most, honestly.
And then maybe like a short epilogue chat.
Yeah. The main thing will be like an hour or two, depending on like how many rolls I want you to do, like how much I want to narrate, and then just the epilogue of what happens afterwards, kind of leading into
what characters run off and do.
And like with a little bit of like, what's going to happen in the future kind of stuff left over in there too.
I already know what's going to happen with Docs. I figured that out.
And then I did have Legacies, in which more people followed Leslie into the weird tent.
Why do they keep doing this?
I mean, like, honestly speaking, like, Leslie was the best one to go in there and be tempted by fate of, like, hey, let's stay here.
I mean, like, yeah, fair.
Yeah. Like, I think, like, it's, like, that one weird thing is, like, Emil just is sort of, like, goes along with the flow too much, and Nathan, I think, likes his existence, honestly,
Has Leslie learned to stop puncturing holes in reality with a sword?
No.
Damn.
He's avoided it, but that's about it. It's more like I'm not going to do it right now.
I'll do it maybe later.
He also met what was like best described as a fey ghoul, which is like another thing that should not exist, similar to the abomination upstairs, which they were hanging out with, which shouldn't exist. Which probably requires some kind of very powerful effect and something very difficult to do.
Probably.
Which is, yes, I will admit that's a character of my own design, but I gave
Nice.
basically like a because Malkavians to talk to Fae, I effectively married Malkov off to a Fae. Maybe mostly in her mind, but maybe possibly in Malkov's mind, but Malkov exists in the network of madness all the time, so
That's fair.
you don't
That's where I
really,
exist
you don't
currently.
really get what Malkov is thinking ever. But I also, like, hurt Leslie again by, like, saying weird things.
Good.
I think the comment was, like the small incarnation of Malkov, which was a child, and that the weird Fae thing is like, now I'm gonna go off now and, pleasure my beloved, or something like that. And, like, Leslie's like, what? Because, like, the person manifested, like, as a small child, it's like,
no.
you know that they're, like, an immortal vampire that can manifest as a lot of things, but just showed up as a small child, and you're like, this is weird. This is weird that you chose to manifest this way and are doing this now. Why have you done this to me?
Oh, no.
And the answer is
Poor Leslie.
Malkavians. The answer is Malkavians.
That's the correct answer.
If you could manifest as anything, because the thing is, they describe as Malkov manifesting in the normal day as a dozen small girls with glowing golden eyes.
Of course.
And it's like, what? You're manifesting as that? You're like a collective we?
If I could become anything, I think I would just use that power to mess with people.
That might have been part of it too. Like, honestly speaking, that's probably part of it. But they're meeting up and escaping and leaving Angry Man alone because Nathan got a gift from his antediluvian that he used to mess around with everybody's minds temporarily. So, yep. Fun there. Conan Crown's over. We had a week off. We're going to talk about what we're going to do.
Over.
We're going to talk about what we're going to do next week. Discuss it. Had Children of Wrath, where they kind of finished up checking out their stuff and finding out things. They found out that they have a sweet-ass mecha, which is the best way of saying they have a artifact colossus that's in disrepair nearby. Nice. I mean, like,
That's an accurate description.
It really is. It's like a giant mecha. I mean, like, it's a colossus, and, like, it's a giant
Gundam.
Yeah, it's like 100-foot tall column. It's gonna do awesome things if they could get it working. But it's also like, do we want to get it working?
I'd make a reference if I knew any of the characters' names on that show.
Yep. And then they
someone getting the robot.
Yeah. Then they moved over the crazy man in their basement who caused all this stuff to a proper cell in the college.
Everything I hear about this game, every week, I'm just amazed by what happens.
Well, they had a bunch of powerful people that were going to help move him anyway, and I'm like, I'm going to roll some checks for him. He has disadvantage because it was like a person that's like specifically like a mind mage who was casting like illusions to like trick him and kind of incapacitate him. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to roll with disadvantage. I rolled 6. Okay, I gave a couple more rolls for transporting. 7, 4.
Oh, God.
My disadvantage rolls were always like, well, there's always one roll one. You get him there without incident. Well, there could have been an incident. I rolled, I was like, that's what I was going to do. If they weren't involved, I probably would have said no incident anyway. But, like, honestly speaking, they wanted to be involved with it, so I'm like, I guess I'll roll just in case. I've got some plans in case the incident happens up, but I don't need to. And then they started interviewing him, which, that
can only go well.
Yeah. It's, going relatively well. Because part of him is, like, he is technically a researcher, so he's like, oh, yeah, my completed research, I'd love to share it with you. Not any of the stuff that's incomplete. I'm not going to really talk about that. So it's sort of like, he's like, I'm going to talk about probably, like, 75% of the stuff I did, I can talk to you about, Because they were also like, hey, this portal that goes to other planes that you somehow got to work when it's very hard to do that and not be a planeswalker nowadays. how did you get that to work? And he's like, you know, he didn't say, he just said he figured out some ways to get it working, kept things very vague, and it's just, you know, the usual, like, I'm a very evil man-ish. Look, this guy also, like, what? He when his wife died, he preserved her corpse and entombed her in, like, a glass coffin.
That's fine.
And he also collected the heads of his enemies, some of which were still animated and alive-ish in his basement.
Just normal Tuesday activities.
Yeah. It's just like... He's just like, and he already commented while he was talking to him, because, like, apparently his servants had abandoned him down there. He's like, gonna have to add some more heads to the old collection there when I get a chance to. On the list. Servants who never came back for me. Yep.
Oh, God.
I guess you had Friday then?
I had a Friday game. We were down a player, though.
Ooh, that always hurts.
Yeah, so I had intended... I didn't feel great about that session, but I think I ran it, like, as good as I could. Doing it with 3 people is kind of difficult. But I think Lightning actually figured this out, wandered into some mists and ended up into a mini domain of dread.
Oh.
Where some elf ghosts had been trapped for about a millennia, being tormented horribly because domains of dread are fucking prisons to torment people.
Yeah,
and then they fought a big old gallows speaker who did a lot of damage, and then a paladin crit on their smite and did 40 damage to it, and then it died, like, immediately after that, before it could get a second attack off. Because... oh boy, crit smites. They're dangerous.
Yeah, they...
important note, the NPC didn't kill the creature, because I hate when NPCs kill still. Big bosses, I kind of hate that. But sometimes it's unavoidable.
Yeah, that's usually what I do, is, like, you know...
I'll, like, give it a couple more extra HP.
Yeah. If... Usually I kind of judge how the players are doing, and then I decide whether or not the NPC would crit steal. Like, if the players are dying horribly, I'm like, it's okay if the NPCs...
I was like, she'll smite 3 people... 2 people... No, 3 people lost half of their health on a single turn. She'll smite. So she smacked it for a lot of radiant damage. And then... they got some mist talismans, which apparently by rules have to be horror trinkets from what I read. So I was like, it'll be fun, roll for them. Roll on this table. And everyone got some normal stuff. And then Lindsay's character got, like, a finger and a pot. So Lindsay's character continues to be the most cursed thing in existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lightning's character got, like, a mirror, but it shows you as, like, an old person. Someone just got, like, a book. And someone got, like, a box with butterflies in it.
Pleasant.
But yeah, now they have things to not get lost in horrible mists.
Yeah, that's good. Advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was relatively...
I'm gonna show it to the old man. He's not old anymore. He got a potion of longevity from his genie.
Now he appears
he's
like
younger.
Yeah, he's slightly younger. So he's like, no change. Well, whatever.
Instead of 60 years old, he's 40.
So now he can look and see himself as like 60 again. He's like,
yeah,
no effect. Well, damn. It was worth a try.
And then they got some magic items because I realized I've been forgetting to give them magic items. Someone got a magic shovel, a +1 shovel. Because they refuse to use any other weapon.
Of course.
So the old man warlock beats things with a shovel.
Of course. +1 shovel. That is a thing that exists hilariously.
It's also cursed, because of course it is. I'm gonna give you a cursed item if you're making me do this shit.
Yeah. Good times, good times.
Yep.
Anyway, so, sounds like it was a great week in tabletop.
Yeah, I had games this week for once.
Yeah, I had a few. Oh, I had Star Trek. I had Star Trek. I almost forgot because like literally half the session I did nothing, and like when they finally like called on me, I had like I was reading something and completely had phased out my brain. Like you know, I've been half paying attention, so I kind of knew what was going on, you know.
There.
And then it was sort of like it was just like my brain just kind of phased out, and then they finally called on me like, "What? Oh, what the hell?
What year is it?
What's going on?"
Where
It's like the glaze over my eyes that was slowly forming over like the first hour. Glaze. Well, it's like they were checking a lot of stuff and making rolls and things like that, and it was like okay, my character could do nothing to help no matter what on this. And then they're like, "Hey, we need your character to do something," and I'm like,
"Oh, what?
I'm
exist
on it." Look, when I'm like Crusher in Star Trek. If my episode comes up, I'm doing something. If not, you forget all the fuck about her because you know it's always Picard and Riker and stuff on the bridge.
Yeah,
and probably Data because he's gonna spout out something sciencey.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, if there's nothing medical related, I ain't showing up.
I got other shit to do.
Yeah, my entire thing now is my character is like every session I'll be drinking a different tea from a different culture and enjoying some of their music because I'm exploring the different ones.
Oh, hey, it's one of these things.
Mm-hmm. I would like to copy and destroy you. Oh, damn it! Lightning got to it first. Whatever, that's fine. You win this time. Banned. I mean, no, it wasn't a bad session. It was just that, like, you know, it was the unfortunate thing that, like, it was quite a while before I was needed, and, like, I vegetated a little bit that day.
I mean, that's what happened to me the last session of Carrion Crowd. I just like, well, I'm not needed. Let's go do something else.
Like, honestly, you could be like, well, your character's no longer afraid, and you're like, well, you're like halfway across the town or something.
I'll do something else. Read a book.
I don't know. I could have both of you have ran in the corner or something, but again, like...
It made sense. He was at the door.
Like, Manacle was in a position where I'm like, Manacle could hide in the corner at least, and like, you were just like, you're at the door.
I couldn't have done anything for 9 turns.
It was the unfortunate thing that, like, I played things very coyly anyway, because, like, I was kind of going for it over. It's just, that entire thing is just so badly, like, openly ended, just like, designed that it's kind of like, it's hard to figure out a way to do it right. Like, I have ideas, and I think I did it better.
Oh, so much you can do with the bad module people.
Again, like, it went better than it would have originally done. I think the issue really ended up being the final battle just triumphantly failed.
By almost... It's bad fighting, and maybe not place a caster that powerful in fucking Pathfinder. You made the game. You know how powerful fucking necromancers are. Fucking Paizo.
He's very easy to kill. Like, that's the thing, is like...
Except, like...
Before he went invisible, he went down so low health. Like, Umber nuked the shit out of him.
He could... If I didn't run away, he would have been dead the next turn. Because I was gonna max cast something.
I think it's the idea that, like... I think this system expected maybe someone to have something to compensate for any issues of failure, and only expect maybe, like, one failure out of the group or something.
Yeah, but we all roll like garbage anyways, so it's fine.
So, again, like, I think that came down to, like, one of the issues that, again, it's another topic I want to talk about is how to get back when your dice rolls fuck you. Like, as a DM, like, the dice rolls just fuck you in your plans. You're like, you know, they're killing all your characters because they rolled like shit. Yeah. Or you rolled way too awesome and you're like, oh shit, I'm murdering my players and I'm you know, it's like, what the hell can I do, you know, to counteract the fact I just, like, crit twice on my players or something like that, you know?
Yeah. I've definitely been there. I said, like, characters for half the session didn't do anything. Multiple times. I'm completely fine with it.
Again, I've been there. Like, the half a session, I was fine with not doing anything there. It's just that, like, It's unfortunate that normally it's the latest part in the day, and now that because of Joe's schedule, we have to start at 9. I'm already getting like a little tired by then.
Yeah.
So like, it's not difficult for me to like lose a little bit, especially like with that long of a disengagement. I'm trying to do a little bit better with like avoiding stuff like that, and I think
I'm gonna have to figure out how not to be tired at 8 in the morning when I play my Sunday game. It's gonna be a lot of coffee.
I did.
It's gonna be like records of evil all over again.
I did technically wake up at 8 o'clock today, but then I took like a 2-hour nap from like 10 to 12. I was like, I'm still tired. I'm gonna go sleep. I'm trying to like, now that I've been able to get up more consistently at 9, I'm trying to get up a little earlier, but again, like it's like just still exhaustion and like just getting that. Yeah. Because I've been up getting between 9 and 10 now, and so
I get up when my body tells me to get up. Sometimes it's at 3 a.m., sometimes it's at 7.
I would like to get back to walking, which is the season to do it in, but it's hot, so I would like to get up early enough to walk before it gets really hot. So that's my entire plan of it is, get up at some reasonable time, get some breakfast, take a walk.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. But I woke up late today, and I've also been sick for a week, so.
Yeah, 91 is a definitely no thank you for walking outside.
That's I don't want to leave my house temperature.
Well, it's sort of like I was also adapted to going out in the cold, and I had like I would always check the temperature and be like, okay, is it precipitating anything out in winter? I could pack myself up and go out when it was like 25 with the wind. Yeah. Before the wind, 25 before the wind chill, Anything colder than that, I'm like, especially if it's windy, no,
Yeah.
But like, because certainly.
Oh, hey, Umber's joined for the end of the show.
Umber joined for the end of the show.
He does care about us.
He missed the Rainbow Six Siege board game.
You missed our disappointment and upset. This is the branding of a board game.
It hurt our souls so much. It really did. Anyway.
Umber, you need to play more Final Fantasy with me, you nerd.
I should play more board games with people. I should do more stuff.
We should do more board game nights again.
Yes. I should get back to like even if it's not Sundays, like a tabletop night or something that I can do again.
Fucking some chill tabletop time, right?
Yeah. And I feel like I should also do some more not RPG streaming stuff, related stuff too occasionally, get back to that, because that I think also helped my sanity just a little bit. I don't know. But it's sort of like when you like break for a while, it becomes harder to do it, and
That's where I'm at with streaming. I've been off for so long that I'm like, do I really can't? I don't know if I want to anymore. Just getting that energy to do it. Ugh.
Energy? What's that?
I don't have much of that these days. I'm old.
I didn't even watch the gameplay, but we did talk about the gameplay, that it looked interesting because interesting kind of.
No, like the game looks fine and cool. The branding upsets me.
Well, yeah, because like
that's the thing that makes me mad.
The thing that made us mad is that their expansions are called Year 1, Year 2, Year 3, Year 4, Year 5.
The way they've worded things upset me.
Because it's exactly like the terrible situation in Siege, where it's like you have to. Where all those characters from those years, I got them. I played a shit ton of the game and grinded them out.
Is it gonna come with a battle pass?
Yeah.
What it sounds like.
Yeah.
When they word it that way.
The literal chart which I saw, which I recognized as the chart you can see on the Steam page for Siege, showing off what the different versions of the game give you.
So dumb.
They have that same kind of chart. It hurts the soul, the branding on it. The branding is so bad.
Someone who's played Siege for like 6 years.
The game looks awesome. Honestly, it looks like
it looks really good and cool, and I will probably play it eventually.
Yeah, I would play it definitely, but yeah. But, branding is everything, and they branded enough to hurt my soul.
Yeah. It's too much.
It's too Siege real.
Yeah. It really is.
But anyway, we should probably get.
We have a game in 2 hours.
We have a game in 2 hours. I want to go on some adventures. I don't know if I'm going to pick up food or eat something back here, but I'll decide.
Try not to be late.
I should try not to be late, but I do know that someone has to go pick up milk, and I don't think they have yet. So I know that's going to be at least part of my adventures in the real world, is going and getting milk. So someone's got to go out to the store.
Yeah.
I hope everybody had a great time, enjoyed the show, learned a few things about some interesting stuff that's out there, etc., etc., etc. I hope you can join us next week, same time, 2 p.m. EST.
Yeah.
Of course, definitely talking about it. 2 p.m. on Mondays and Tuesdays. Monday for Records of Evil, which we talked about. Tuesdays for Legacies of Kain. 9 p.m. on Tuesdays, Star Trek Adventures. I'm a player on it on Unfunny One's channel. Check that out. And Thursdays for Children of Wrath. I think, Momo, you got anything else other than records to shout out?
No, I'm not in any other stream games.
Okay. So for now, I'm going to say, everybody, have a great rest of your Saturday. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, etc., etc., etc. And farewell for now, and see you next time.
See ya.